Hello and welcome back to Down the Track. We're getting closer and closer to the World Test Championship final between India and New Zealand. Our build-up continues. We've done the key battles. We've done the ideal 11s. In this episode, we'll be doing a SWOT analysis for both teams, looking at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats for this match. It's a one-off match, final. Anything can happen. Hopefully, the weather will be on our side. Let's start off with New Zealand, and then we'll move on to India. New Zealand, I think their strength is their fast bowling. They have Wagner, Southey, they have Trent Bolt, they have Jameson, and Henry waiting in the wings as well. But I think those four bowlers that I mentioned, they're different types of bowlers. Like Southey and Bolt will swing the ball, they'll pitch it up, in swing, out swing. Wagner will pitch it short. Jameson gets this natural bounce. He's very tall, so different kind of challenges for the batsman, and that's why this bowling unit is so strong. Yes, you can say they don't have a spinner, but in these kind of conditions, if you can keep these bowlers fresh, I think they'll do the job. You might not need a spinner, and Ajaz Patel I think works well as well. So even if he is there as the spinner, I think he'll hold up an end like you saw against England. The only thing is I think the Indian batsmen will be more equipped against him because it was that English second string without Stokes and Bairstow over here. He'll be up against some quality batsmen, a world-class batsman, and I think he'll have a job to do. But if you look at their fast bowling, I think that's their biggest strength. The variety that they have, the types of bowlers are completely different, and they complement each other. Wagner, you look at his figures, sometimes like he's not taking any wickets, but then the wickets coming from the other end because he's pulling it short, he's making the batsman uncomfortable. Then Bolt comes from the other end, pitches one up, gets the outside edge, and I think that's their biggest strength for New Zealand. Weakness, it has to be spin. I think yes, Ajaz Patel did do good against England, but will he play? And if he does play, will he be able to hold one and will he be able to pick up wickets? India plays spin decently. I wouldn't say. I would say the likes of Sachin, Dravid, those guys are amazing. This Indian team have had their fair share of issues with spin, but I think in these kind of conditions, they played in India. Recently against England in those turning tracks, it's not going to be like that. I think they'll play Ajaz Patel comfortably, and I think that might be an issue for New Zealand because Southampton is a type of pitch where it can be conducive to spin. We saw Moeen Ali take 7 or 8 wickets against India. I think twice he picked up more than 5 wickets in 2 different test matches in Southampton. So they could trouble India if they have a proper spinner, and I don't know if Ajaz Patel is experienced enough. Sadner, of course, is injured. Even him, he's not a fully fledged, he's an all-rounder more. I think Ajaz Patel is a good spinner, but he doesn't have that experience, and they're playing a final, so that potentially could be their weakness. And also playing spin. I think Rochelle and Williamson are fabulous players of spin, but then the lower order, when it comes to Nichols, when it comes to Blundell, when it comes to Jameson, these guys, the lower order, will they be able to handle the likes of Ashwin and Jadeja? And if there's a bit of turn there, then it might be difficult for New Zealand. Even the top order, the likes of Conway, if Ashwin gets the new ball, we saw he bowled really intelligently against Australia. How will they attack that, and how will they approach playing spin? So I think that will be a potential weakness. Opportunity, I look at I think for New Zealand, opportunities to rectify. First of all, 2019, they were so close. You could say it was a lack of it was an umpire error, rules error that they lost on boundary count. That Ben Stokes overthrow really did them, and I think they were unlucky. And now they've learned from that. I think that was the most heartbreaking loss in international cricket, the way they lost that. But I think playing that will give them a lot of experience, and now they will want to go into this with that experience. I think a lot of players played that match. They'll go with that experience, so they want to rectify that, and this time they want to cross the line. They haven't won an ICC tournament, I think, since that 2000 knockout tournament against India, and they've done really well against India in ICC tournaments in general. In the last World Cup, they beat them in the semi-finals. They've beaten them in T20 World Cups, in Champions Trophies. They've done well against India, so they'll be fancying their chances, and I think they would have learned a lot from that. They're not playing in Lords this time, so I think that will be something to their advantage. And BJ Watling, another opportunity to finish off on a high. He's been really good for New Zealand. I think he's kept wickets brilliantly. He's batted with the tail fantastically, and I think this is the perfect send-off for him if he can perform and get New Zealand over the line. His role will be crucial, and that's why I think it's an opportunity for him, because India sometimes, they pick up quite a few wickets early on, and then they sometimes struggle to get out the tail. And I think if BJ Watling with the lower order, with the likes of Jameson, whoever is there, he bats it with the tail well. So with them, if he can build partnerships and get in New Zealand to a more than competitive score, I think that will be huge. So I think that's one opportunity there for New Zealand. Threat, Ashwin and Jadeja. I think that is New Zealand's threat. These guys, yes, it won't be a Chennai wicket, but these guys have shown in Australia that you don't need much turn. They can deceive you through the air as well. And they've learned that. I think they've learned that with experience. Ashwin struggled in his last tour to England, and he did to his last tour in Australia as well. But the latest tour of Australia, you saw a different type of Ashwin. He's become very much mature. And for him, Ishant Sharma, this is like a World Cup final for them. They're not a part of the limited overs. They're part of the test squad, even Pujara. And for them, this is a World Cup final. So he will be up for it. And just watch out. Like we said, Southampton, there is the possibility for some turn. But even if there is no turn, Ashwin and Jadeja, I think both with the way they bowl, I think they'll use... the way they deliver the ball through the air, I think they'll use that, vary the pace a bit, and really the revolutions, actually, the way they use the revolutions, I think that will might cause some issues for New Zealand. So that's the threat for New Zealand. For India, strength, like we just finished off, I think spin bowling, that's their strength. Yes, we're playing in English conditions, and their fast bowlers, India's fast bowlers recently have been amazing. That can be their strength as well, for sure. I'm not denying that. I'm just focusing on the spin bowlers because I think, in these kind of conditions, if they can just use their experience, pick up like even 2-3 wickets, it can cause problems for New Zealand, and it'll break that tempo. And if Ashwin and Jadeja, I think they potentially both play, if they can just pick up 2-3 wickets in both innings, that will be great for India. And New Zealand, we haven't seen them play quality spin recently. Even in the recent games where they played, they weren't up against quality spin. I haven't seen them play against Lyon recently as well. The last time they toured Australia, they struggled a bit against him. So I think that might be an issue, and that's why I think that's India's strength. Of course, I'm not denying their fast bowlers have been amazing as well. And that is also, I think the bowling in general is a strength, but I'm just focusing on the spin bowling right now. And then weakness, I think finishing off the tail, that's going to be a weakness. India have struggled in England, in New Zealand, even in Australia at times, they've struggled to clean out the tail. They get the opposition down to 6-7, and then Sam Curran comes in, hits a 50, Jamieson hits a 50. So whether that's to do with field placement, whether it's to do with fatigue, whether stamina, we don't know exactly what the reason is, but it is an issue and they will have to work on that. I think Virat Kohli will need to keep his boys fit. If it's 6-7 down, maybe keep a bowler there for the tail when you see the wickets tumbling, and bring him in. I think they should set attacking fields and go for it. And that's going to be the weakness for India. It's a very funny weakness, but it's been there for the last 2-3 years. And I think India would have won way more test matches overseas, even in South Africa, if they finished off the tail quickly. Opportunity, again, like New Zealand, for New Zealand, it was a crazy World Cup final, but India have been in these situations in the last decade. They've reached the World T20 final. They've reached the Champions Trophy final. They've reached the T20 semi-final as well. They've reached the 2019 semi-final. They've reached these stages and they haven't been able to cross the line. So Virat Kohli has not won a trophy. He will be eager to win this. And I think here's the opportunity. They've played with some world-class cricket in this championship so far, home and away. I think what they did in Australia was fantastic, superb, and this is the time to get over the line. I think this Indian team is too talented not to win a trophy this decade, and I think they have to win this game. There will be more pressure on them than New Zealand for sure. Of course, New Zealand, now there's expectations. Before you would come, they'll come as the underdogs. They're no longer underdogs. I think it's a 50-50 chance. They will also have their expectations. But for India, they've been doing this for 10, 11 years. They've been failing with such a strong squad, and I think it's an opportunity for them, and an opportunity for Rishabh Pant. I think this is going to be a first time in a long time where he's the wicketkeeper after that sensational Australia tour where he wasn't picked initially in the team. He came in the second, third test. He came coincidentally, and he did so well in Sydney and in Brisbane. He was sensational, actually. This will be his chance. I think he'll be a different player because mentally he doesn't have to prove anything. He just needs to play his game. And if he can take the game away from New Zealand, he is the guy, batting at in an aggressive manner at a quicker rate. I'm not saying go hammer and tongs, but in England, if you notice that the ball swings in the 60th, 70th over as well. And playing a bit ultra defensive might work in Australia, but in in England, I don't think it'll work as much. So quicker runs, getting a 50, 60 of 80, 90 balls, I think that can be very useful. And Rishabh Pant is someone who can take the game away. Even if India get a good start, he can take the game away from New Zealand, extend that lead as well. And quick quick runs, even if they're under the pump, if he can come and score quick runs, I think that will put pressure on New Zealand. There's some good bowling that he'll have to face, so he'll have to watch out the way he plays. Not every shot, in Australia as well, we saw a couple of times he got dropped, he got missed stumping chances. So he'll have to make sure that he plays smart cricket, because this is only one game. But at the same time, it's not much pressure on him as in the Australia tour. He has nothing to prove. He's going to be the wicketkeeper, but I think he can play. If he can play a match-winning role, it'll be brilliant for India. And he's someone who can take the game away from New Zealand. He played well against England as well at home. So there's one player I think it's going to be an amazing opportunity for him, and also opportunity for the likes of Ishant Sharma, Pujara, and Ashwin, who play solely Test cricket. For them, this is their bread and butter. They don't play limited overs apart from IPL here and there, and I think this is what they play for. Test cricket is the toughest form of cricket. You have to concentrate for 5 days. It's a physical, mental challenge, skill challenge, everything. So I think these players who are dedicated Test players, I think for them, it's an opportunity to win a trophy, win a cup, and it'll mean a lot for the country and for the players as well. The threat for India will be New Zealand, the New Zealand swing bowler, especially when the ball starts to nip. I think the Duke ball, it starts to swing a bit later. It's not like the others like Kookaburra, SG, where the first 10 overs it swings and it's done. Over here, it actually doesn't swing as much in the first 5-10 overs. But as the lacquer starts to come off, I think the ball starts to move and nip. And I think that's going to be India's issue. You saw that in the 2019 semi-final when these two teams faced up. India were in trouble. I think they were 5 for 3, 6 for 3. Lost quick wickets early with the swing. Trent Bolt causing problems, Sadi causing problems. So there's going to be an issue for India, and leaving the ball will be crucial as well. Not playing at everything. Judgment of when it's going to swing, where it's going to swing. That's going to be key. And that's going to be the threat. Swing bowling in general is not easy to play, but for India in particular, they're not the greatest at playing swing bowling, and that's going to be their biggest challenge. In Australia, yes, there was swing, but it swings much more in England and Australia as well. It's more about bounce, and Indian players are much better now at playing bounce, whereas swing has been an issue, and that's something they'll want to work on. It's not easy, and that's something they'll have to watch out for. So that concludes the SWOT analysis for both teams, I think. It's going to be a fantastic match. Can't wait for it. Make sure you tune in throughout this final to Down the Track. Subscribe to us. Please ask your questions as well regarding this match. And thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, take care.